It's the old bear from the old bear's den of Bigfoot. I'm back again today. Got you an account that's got a few years on it, but I was told this right after I started getting into Bigfooting, and I figured I'd bring it to you. It's a little bit old. It's late 1800s. Involved some family members. I figured I'd show you some spring turkey woods. See what y'all think of the woods. And no, there's no Bigfoot around. I'm turkey hunting today. Uh, anyway, I was told this account by a family member. She was telling me about when she was a young lady. Uh, in fact, my great grandmother is the one that told me. Anyway, her husband, uh, my great grandpa, was a bush, and they lived out on Jim Ridge here in West Virginia. Now they're young, 17, 18, 19 years old, 20 something maybe. And they met, and he lived out there with his parents. Well, she would go out there, he'd go pick her up, and they go courting, not like they do today. You just meet somebody at a bar and go home with them. That's not courting. Courting is when you pick somebody up, you take them to their, you go stay at their house and you sit on the swing and out front and you do all that stuff and you talk and there ain't no kissing involved. You might get to hold her hand once in a while. That's about it. That's courting. And I just saw a squirrel on the road. I'm just going to try to show you the squirrel. But evidently he's taken off. Oh well, it happens. Anyways, turkey gobble. Way off. Anyway, they were sitting on the front porch at his house, his parents' home, and they were behaving themselves like you're supposed to when you court. And according to my great grandma, they were sitting there and it was dark. It was getting dark, and she had to be home by I think 9:30, 9 or 9:30. That was the cutoff time. She had to be home. Well, she didn't live very far from there, so it was no big deal. Uh, but the parents left. Uh, the parents left the front porch light on. They were older kids, so they were given a little more leeway. They weren't treated as 14, 15-year-old kids back then. Anyway, they were sitting there talking, and they started hearing some strange noises coming up from the hollow. Well, I know where the house is at, and I could take you out there and show you, but that's a lot of headache because there's nowhere to pull off unless you pull in the driveway. Well, my family doesn't own it anymore, so we are not going to go out there. It's passed from my family's hands into someone else's family, and I respect that. So what happened was is they had some rocks that were heard noises, and then when they went to get in the car, some rocks were thrown and hit the car. Now there was none of his brothers or sisters around. They were all inside the house, and they had to be in by a certain time. He was the eldest, so there's nothing you can do about that. But in the process of getting in the car, and he was taking her home. Like I said, the rocks got thrown at the car, and he got out and looked around and couldn't see any of the kids of his, the other kids in the family, thinking they were, being kids, mischievous. But he got back in the car and took her home. Well, the next weekend rolled around, Saturday night, and he was allowed to go pick her up again in the family car. And they came back out to the house, and Mom had dinner fixed, and they were, eating inside eating, and they decided after dinner they were going to take a walk around the yard. Now, this yard encompasses 4 or 5 acres of ground, open ground, not including what the house sits on. And it's a big house, and they had a big family, so back then you had big families. And they had gardens and had livestock and everything like that, and chickens. And the chickens had done gone to roost, and um, off in the distance, it was springtime like it is now, and he could hear turkey gobbling off in the distance. And uh, then they heard those strange noises again. They couldn't explain what they were. He went in and got his dad, and my great great grandpa, great 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 grandpa, come out to listen. And uh, he said, "You better take her home. That's not good. Whatever that is, it's too close. You need to take her home and get your butt back here and get in the house." Well, he started asking his dad questions. Well, my great 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 grandpa was pretty stern about a lot of things. He had a lot of responsibility taking care of his family. So he said, "Boy, don't question me. Do what I tell you." So he took her home, took my great great grandma home. Yeah, I think that's the way it was. Great grandmother home. And when he got back, according to what he told my great grandmother, there was some type of ruckus going on at the house. One of their goats had been killed while he was gone, and she only lived 2 or 3 miles from there. Back then the roads weren't like they are today, blacktop. There's gravel and dirt, and when he got back, uh, he they didn't have telephones, so his dad was standing outside, and when he got out of the truck, his daddy handed him a rifle and said, "Boy, we got problems. We need to get this taken care of." So that's what he did. They went looking for this thing, and evidently uh, they found it, and they shot this thing a few times because it had uh, part of the goat that it had killed in its arm, and they left the head and the guts and everything else there, and it kept the rest of the body. And it was walking along on 2 feet, and it was hair covered. So it was hungry, but it had killed a family. Part of the livestock of the family. They depend on the goats for milk, and they had milk cows, and they had chickens and all that. And evidently, they shot it 3 or 4 times with a shotgun, and the thing dropped the goat and took off running, and left them. So they uh, picked the goat up, took it back to the house, buried it. And the next night, the thing came back. I guess didn't make any noise, but it came back on a Sunday night after they'd all went to bed, and dug the goat up and took the body with it. And this started happening on a regular basis, according to my great grandmother. And they had issues with it for 2 or 3 months, and they'd shot at it 4 or 5 different times over that period of time. My great-great-grandpa shot at it, and my great-grandpa had shot at it. Let's see if we can get that squirrel in there. If he's still up there. Anyways, they had problems and had issues with it for a while. And so after a period of time, this thing finally took off and left the property, because my great grandpa had quite a big farm, and it was getting into the gardens, and it disappeared in the fall, and they had no more trouble with it. So, I don't know. My great grandmother didn't tell me what they said it was, but they were hearing noises, and then it escalated to where it was killing livestock and getting into their gardens, getting into the corn and everything else that my grandpa had planted to make money. And it had killed a few of the goats and killed some chickens. So it was an expense that he didn't have the money to replace that stuff. It wasn't a time of great money in the state of West Virginia, but that's what happened. And I figured I'd bring it to you and let you know that these things have been around since, well, before my great-great-grandpa, and they've been around in the area a few times. So I hope y'all enjoy this video, and I hope everyone stays blessed, and the Lord watches over each and every one of you and protects you from any harm in this world. And if you're out in the woods like I am, good luck. If you're turkey hunting, if not, you're out walking around, hiking around, be safe. These things are everywhere, near the cities, in the woods where I'm at, and that turkey's gobbling, and he's calling me. So I hope y'all enjoy it, and stay blessed, everybody. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.